Ke nna Motshabi Moloi, moradi wa Albertina, Mama Chona, le Joseph Mbutana Moloi. Ke le lekgolokwe le hlaba Botswana, le hlaba kgoho ka lemao ka sebonong, le hlaba le isa kgorong ha mafafane. Mafafane a eja a e halala, a re kgutla hape o e eketsa, motho wa o etse.
Welcome to the Journey with Mpho podcast, a sacred space for healing, love, and rediscovering your life purpose. Introducing your host, Mpho.
Hello, Journey with Mpho friends and family. I am so excited to be back on this mic that I'm almost tempted to ask you for permission to actually scream for joy because it has been such a long time coming. I released the Medicine Woman episode and then went completely MIA with good reason. This last season or this last cycle of time had been calling for rest, rejuvenation, reset, reflection. It was not a time for creation. And so I heeded the call, and here I am on the other side, and very grateful for that reflective time, for that space. And I hope that you didn't miss us too much. I'm kind of hoping you missed us a lot, actually. We are excited to be back with an episode that is proudly sponsored by two phenomenal women-owned businesses. Can I get a heck yeah? What? We did all this work healing our friendships and relationships with women and trying to establish a community that is supportive. And finally, all of these things, all of these good feeling relationships are coming into manifestation. And I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. So let me not talk your ears off. The first women-owned business that is sponsoring this episode is Kukui Creations. They make earrings out of the kukui nut out in Hawaii. If you are on island or in Hawaii in general, then kindly follow them on Instagram. Go ahead and purchase a set of gorgeous earrings from them. If you don't believe me, go ahead and check out my recent Instagram posts with the earrings. I mean, my words won't do them justice. It's absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. And if you are not in Hawaii still, go follow them, show them love, share their creations, and slide into their DMs and find out if they won't ship internationally, because hey, who doesn't want to be connected to anything that comes from this beautiful Aina? So Kukui Creations, their business name and handle is also in the episode notes. Now, the second business, the owner is actually today's guest, a former high school friend of mine, Martinah. And it was interesting when I asked her to send me her bio. She said, "I'm a lover for the mystic arts, still finding out what is true to be the best version this life has called me to be. A forever student to nature and creativity. As cool as I may appear to be, I'm an aspiring, open quote, crazy cat lady, close quote, lol, heart." And as you listen to this episode, I want you to consume all that Martinah has to say, to really take it in, because we dive into a variety of topics. Her business is called Mpho Untitled, and it is also on Instagram. Again, all of the stuff will be in the episode notes. So excited for the sponsorship of two phenomenal women-owned businesses that I absolutely admire and am inspired by. So here's Martinah. And of course, they needed to be someone revving their car at this very hour.
No time.
Okay, let's get started. So I'll start with the singing bowl. We'll do a Tibetan singing bowl, just more so calming my nerves, opening up the conversation for us. Hello, Martinah.
Greetings.
I am so excited for this conversation.
Same here. Thank you so much for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to speak my truth.
Thank you for being in alignment. I know we were trying to schedule this earlier, but this is divine timing.
Yes, everything is always divine timing. I feel we both had to go through some things and just heal whatever is necessary before we can engage properly.
Feels good. I like it when the timing's right.
Yes,
I like it.
we all do. We all do.
Okay, so I'm going to start right off the top. On your Instagram, you describe yourself as a magician. Are you open to telling us more about this?
Just a little bit. Firstly, I find it provocative, when people sort of be like, "Oh, damn, what is this girl doing?" But when you get to see what I'm actually doing on my Instagram, I'm literally creating magic with things that I create through my jewelry, some of my posts. I feel everything is magic. Everything you do is a ritual of some sort.
You're right. When I view your Instagram account, I feel like I'm experiencing, other people just post their experiences, and other people, you can experience them through their posts. Like, this is who I am. Your videos make me feel things that I'm like, whoa, I
Mission achieved. Yeah, creating magic. That's exactly that. No, I'm glad that you feel something. Yeah, I feel like to do everything with intention, especially on social media. A lot of us have ended up using it as some sort of an escape tool or like consuming junk, and you don't realize what it's doing to you internally and how you end up expressing yourself in the outside world.
I can definitely align with the intentionally creating things. I feel that I find myself going through my following and the people that follow me and saying, what do I want to see? What do I intentionally want to consume and bring into my life? Because we spend so much time there. We spend so much time sharing our energy through our content creation, whether it be photos or music. Who do you want to share the energy with? And do those people align with where you are at that point in your life when you are sharing those things? So I feel it.
Definitely,
I'm all for it.
definitely. And then you see me sometimes on WhatsApp with the banter, but it's still intentional, makes the people think, make them ask questions.
WhatsApp is like a community. We're like, WhatsApp is not social media, especially for South Africans, I feel.
Yeah, it's our safe space, I guess, where we can be, not worry about, oh, why are you posting that? You shouldn't be
Yeah.
posting that because, like, outside Facebook and
Yeah.
Instagram, oh, there's a lot of that, and it's just like, pause.
Stop. You don't know.
Yo, it's heavy.
Yeah. I liked when you said yo. From some home. It's like yo has so much weight in it. Like yo, you don't know half of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about something that's been a yo moment for me. The awakening process, right? Some people call it the spiritual awakening process, the Kundalini process, just the yo, what just happened? One minute I was identifying with this part of myself, and now it feels like I'm a completely different person. There seems to be a considerable collective getting activated to share light, vibrate love, harmony, and healing. We've termed this for ourselves the awakening process. What has that process been like for you?
To be honest, nerve wracking.
Mm,
It's nerve wracking because, as you said, like you feel like you identify with certain things, and then you go through a certain experience that lifts up a sort of veil, and you realize like,
mm,
okay, that's not really how I should be going about this life, and
mm,
um, like the ego death, in Christianity they call it like the
mm,
death of self, laying down your
mm,
flesh, coming to Christ, learning how
mm,
to not operate from the ego. I guess I think that's the safest term to use. Not
mm,
operating from the ego.
mm,
It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. Some days are good. It's effortless. Some days just like I feel so stuck. And like, do I really have to go through this process? Like,
mm,
can't I just be whatever I want? And it's like, no, you need to
mm,
uncondition the mind, uncondition the
mm,
soul, decolonize the mind. Um,
mm,
yeah, yeah, but I feel after the nerve wracking process, it does feel better. And then you do go back to gratitude. Like, I'm grateful I went through this process. And I'm grateful that I'm here now. And I'm grateful for these new tools that can help me stay in alignment. And it's a never ending process. People, I
mm,
feel like what I observe on social media and with some interactions, people think like, oh, I've awakened, and it's just that. And it's not. It's the same thing as like when you get baptized and it's like, okay, I'm saved. It doesn't end
mm,
there. You have to continuously put in
mm,
work. Um, I feel the best way to go through the awakening process is to, like, the same
mm,
way we maintain relationships with people, maintain a relationship with your spirit, maintain a relationship with the creator. Have allow yourself to have those human emotions, You
mm,
don't have to um, have this facade like it's all nice and dandy. Like, people make it seem like
mm,
it's like that. I call it toxic positivity. And like, are you actually learning, or are you just trying
mm,
to show us that you're onto something to maybe become more likable because it seems to be the trend
mm,
now? Yeah,
mm.
it's
You're using your hands to like,
Yo.
it's the yo. I told you, it's like the yo. I like the fact that you pointed out it's a never ending process because I think that has been, fortunately for me, my awakening process happened simultaneously or almost simultaneously with my mother. And we reached a point where we were like, Brad, does this come to an end? Like, if this is an assignment, like, are we done? Because to your point, the death of one's ego seems to be a death, a rebirth, a death, a rebirth. Just when you think you are over yourself, you'll make up stories that protect this ego, that keep walls, that build walls and stop you from getting to the ego. And so just when you think you're done, something happens, old trigger or something that you think you've worked through comes back up and you're like, what the hell? Why does it feel like I'm back in the same position? And like, what insanity is this? And does this end? Because how many times am I going to do the dying and the rebirthing, the dying and the rebirthing? And it seems you can maybe tell me if you relate to this or not, but I've come to call this realm that we're in, this earth space that we're in, the school. This is where we are learning. This is school.
I tell my brother almost every day, we're here to learn. We're here to learn.
Yeah.
Different forms of
Yeah.
coexistence
Mm.
and the lessons in this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you.
Yeah. And I think once you've gone through that point, you said you'll be grateful and you'll have compassion. So I think it softens you up. It deepens your connection with humanity. You start seeing people's struggles. You don't just see, no, but this person's like this and that and that. Like, oh, I know how you could be stuck in the same behavior pattern. I know how you could be having a difficult time breaking these cycles for yourself because I've been there. And I give you love, I give you light, I give you the continued courage to keep dying and coming back and dying and coming back from your ego.
That's the least we can do for everyone around us. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that like everyone is awakening at different levels. So I think that's where like the old triggers come in, because you think, okay, I'm having this awakening, and like, okay, I now that I have these tools, I think life is gonna go smoothly for a bit, and then you're gonna come across someone who's also awakening, but it's different. Maybe they're higher, maybe they're low. You don't know, and just that interaction sometimes causes a type of friction, and then you are humbled. Like, okay, am I ready to apply these tools? So I still need to learn. What more do I need to learn? So I think that's the frustrating part, the nerve-wracking part of awakening.
One of my favorite songs, the title is The Waters We Give, and the chorus of it is be like water, just flow. Don't have an attachment to the things that you think you've learned, to the things that you think you know, just flow. And I think that's been such saving grace for my awakening process because sometimes the ego wants to hold on and it's like, this is what I know and this is what I'm certain of. And what you're certain of just keeps slipping from your grip. You trying to hold on to it, but you can't hold on to it. You have to just let go and say, this is who I am now. I'm open. I'm
Yeah.
open. I'm cracked wide open. There's nothing more left to take. And there's so much more that I can give if I can get through this process. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a beautiful song. I really need to hear
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
I'll
I
send it
even
to
need to
you.
hear it. Thank you.
I was listening to it today at work and just like going through something else that's coming up for me that I've been working through. And it's just like, be like water, my friend. And I'm like, yes, remember, Mpho, the water comes in. I live on an island, so the water comes in from the ocean and then it goes right back. It comes in and it goes right back. How can I loosen up what I think needs to be done in this very moment, what I think needs to be happening, and just flow and accept that this is what's showing up and this is how it's happening. And I can be okay with that. I can be okay with not being in control. So,
That's
yeah.
lovely. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
When we go through these processes of like having to let go,
Yeah.
is it's normal to feel pain, right? And
Mm,
I don't know, like I feel it's something that I might need now because I think it's something that I am kind of struggling with a bit. I'm not gonna
mm,
lie. The
yeah.
human emotions, like how to actually deal with it, because there's this friction of
Mm,
like you can feel your feelings, but sometimes when we feel our feelings and how we express it can be more damaging to your whole journey. So
mm.
if you have a word of advice for your girl while we're in Mercury
Sure.
retrograde.
I need to preface this by saying that I am not an expert at this in any shape, way, or form. But it's been coming up for a lot of us. Our emotions are being triggered partially because of the awakening process and partially because of the growth that we need to do as a human race. Our two emotion centers in the body are the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. The solar plexus being just below the heart in the center where the ribs end. When you feel shock or like those butterflies in your stomach kind of feeling, you mainly feel it in your solar plexus. It's like a little jump. It actually, if it's strong enough, it has the potential to make you jump. The sacral chakra is our pleasure point. This is where we feel both sensual, sexual pleasure. They work concurrently with our entire emotional center. Yes, people say, I love you with all my heart, but most of the emotion happens within the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. What I've been finding powerful for me during this time is an affirmation.
South Africa.
Hadida, yes, yes. It did that jump. It activated that solar plexus. Just as I was like, thank you, Hadidas. I appreciate that. I What I find works for me, or what has been powerful and transformative for me during this time, is to say, I have the right to feel my emotions. We have a tendency for when something comes up for us. I don't know whether it's a trauma response or how we were raised as kids, but we as a society have learned to push our feelings aside. Like, not right now. Ugh, I don't have time. I don't want people to see me crying, or I don't want people to think I'm upset. So instead of feeling whatever emotion is coming up for us, we just push it to the side. And then we never come back. We never come back to it and say, like at the end of the day, I'm doing this practice where I say, what do I need to release? Where was a moment coming up for me where there was too strong of an emotion? And I said, no, not right now. Can right now be now just before bed? Can I reflect on that moment? Can I say, man, that was really messed up. I was really upset about that. And could I even cry about it? Did I want to cry at that time, but did I stop myself from crying because maybe people were looking at me, or maybe it just didn't seem appropriate at the time? And so on the days where I'm not too tired and I still have a little bit of wakeness before bedtime, this is what I'm doing. I'm just releasing and I'm saying, you have the right to feel your emotions. And I want you to remember that even when those things are coming up for you, whatever emotions they are, feel them, feel them. And so this is a process of like releasing and letting go and not having an attachment or trying to find meaning or trying to judge myself for having those emotions. Like, why do I feel like that? Why did I respond that way? Or why didn't I respond in that way? I'm just saying, whatever I feel right now, I have the right to feel. And I'm hoping that process, no matter how many times I do it every night, is able to restore the energy balance within the solar plexus and the sacral chakra to just, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here in this crazy Mercury and finding alignment and finding that. And it's hard. It's hard because sometimes it's rage, right? It's like, I need to do something. There needs to be action. Like, I'm thinking maybe some sort of aggressive sport like dancing or boxing or something that like helps you, if you had like drums and you just explode the energy out of your body, you physically dance it out of your body, if you will. I'm thinking things like that in the future will be very helpful because as we continue in this awakening process, those emotions tend to build and become more of emotions requiring release. Like they're no longer things that you can just park on the bench. You have to release them. Yeah. Tell me if that lands for you, if it makes sense.
It really lands and it makes sense because sometimes when I do things, I don't realize why until afterwards, and it makes sense that just before going back to study, there was this type of nervousness and shame coming from I should have done this sooner, just unnecessary emotions, and my hips, they were stiff. They were so flipping stiff, and I just started on YouTube. I'm like, yoga, root chakra yoga. Like even though I'm not really familiar with the chakra points, like I understand like we store energy in certain points, but let's see like what I work with and opening up the hip, and it calmed me down. It grounded me, and I like some of the yoga pages where while you're doing the yoga, they'll speak affirmations to you. It's really really helpful. Like,
Yeah.
we really take for granted how comforting affirmations are, whether you're getting it from the Bible, from Psalms, from Proverbs, or from the internet, from your chakra pages. They are so comforting.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
So
It's
that's
funny that
really
you say your hips because
my
there was a
hips
yoga
got this.
video that I watched, and this woman said that women store emotion in their hip area, and that's why we have tightness in the hips. And I was like, yeah, my hips are always they're yo.
Yeah, like whether you're sitting or standing, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's no comfortable position. So the stretching has been really, really helpful in that sense. So what you said actually really resonated, sort of confirmed that, okay, I am listening to the body, listening to the spirit, and finding new ways to release. Yeah.
Nice. Always on the right path. Your guidance system is always there. Your guidance support system is always like, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to be going. It's funny when I start looking for information and then other people are bringing me the same information. Like, have you tried this? Someone said, you should try roller skating. And I've been thinking about dancing. Like, I should try a dance class. And they're like, I run a roller skating class every Fridays. You should come. And I was like, okay. I mean, I hear
Look at
you,
that.
universe. Hello.
Look at that.
Sure, I'll
God
go
always
roller
got
skating.
us. God always
Yeah,
got us.
I like that. God always got us. I like that. So I really, we'll get into it. I'm really excited to get into the duality of your spirituality and your Christian ship coming into play all at one. But I'm going to preface it with this one question first before we get into that because I'm excited. I'm like, I want to hear more. Um, So, when we were preparing for this episode, you detailed how your mother's non judgmental and Christian perspective was a catalyst in helping you find your balance within the spiritual journey while maintaining Christian faith. Can you tell me a little bit more about this experience?
I can start off with my favorite experience with my mom when I started experiencing life very differently to how we were raised in the church.
Mm,
And yeah, we were sitting outside in the garden. We have like this cute little bench looking at the grass, the plant. Like the scenery was just right. Like everything just felt so divine and sacred and safe. It was very, very safe. And
mm,
I was telling my mom about certain dreams I'm having, and even when I'm in
mm,
awakened stage, there's just certain things I will see and like, where
mm,
did I just go? Why is this happening? And I was
mm,
explaining to her how I've been interpreting these things and my love now for
mm,
incense and really wanting to learn herbs. And I'm like, where is this all coming from? Because we didn't learn this in church. And she's just, and I asked her, does this make me less of a Christian? And she said, no.
mm,
And she just further explained, like, we can't fight how God chooses to communicate to us. Each of us have our own purpose. We're all part of the body of Christ. Everyone has a role to play, and it's not our place to say, yo, that's not right. If I can see you, my daughter, like you've come from this very dark space and you're creating, you're working, you just have this new lust for life. I know that God is with you, like I'm not going to fight it. And I was just like, wow, that is so beautiful. So from there, every now and then I'll be like, yo, mom, I had this dream and this and this, I saw this. And sometimes we'll be like seeing different healers or just like symbolisms, and sometimes she can even interpret them. And she advised me that, yes, the way people have been molded in the church, you also need to learn your audience so you know how to speak on certain things so that there's no backlash. Because, like, and I translated that as, energy needs to flow. I can't tell someone something that they're not ready to hear. It's going to bounce back on me. It's going to hit me. It's going to literally hit me, you know. So that's why we always ask God for guidance and to always open the hearts of people. And you'll know when you're supposed to pass on a message to someone. You don't just go blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So, conversations with her have been one of my favorite grounding exercises in this journey.
Yeah, I think she received you with love. As you described that story, sitting on the bench, the scenery, everything was good. Your moment of awakening was met by someone who gave birth to you. And to me, I'm listening to you share the story, and I'm like, it felt like a hug. Like how the awakening process begins for a lot of us. If I could make a description a little bit here, like give people imagery. You're sitting in a tree, and then something really loud passes by and shocks you out of your senses, and you fall out of the tree onto the ground, pretty much, because one
Mm-hmm.
minute you're here and everything about where you are is stable and it's secure and you trust it and you know it to be true. And then the next
Mm-hmm.
minute you're in this awakening process where so much seems uncertain. Like, I feel like maybe perhaps the question you had asked her at the time is, how is the church? How does this now correlate to my Christianity? Where does my Christian faith stand with this awakening process? And for her to give you those words of warmth and love and say, it's okay that God is in this too. God is still in this journey with you too, is like,
A lot of relief happened in that moment.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
a lot.
Because it then gives you the opportunity, supported from your birth space, to continue moving in this journey. I have a reliable source who may or may not sometimes understand that, but at some point she gets to a point where she can translate some of the things that are showing up for you, that she can
Mm.
clarify them. And it's,
Mm. Yeah. I think that with mom's guidance, one thing I am so grateful for every day is that when God is really present in a situation, it really doesn't matter your walk of life. There's that connect, as I said, like when God says, okay, it's time to relay this message, that person will be open to receive it. And then there's just this whole flow of new energy and allowing for a new experience and new knowledge, new wisdom. So really, really grateful for that.
I have goosebumps from that. Really love it. So, I've, in just glimpses of social media and talks that we've had, witnessed you exist in this spiritual and Christian duality. And I'm interested in knowing whether this specific duality shows up in your day to day life, like divination tools, Bible, incense. How does your day to day life look like?
There's definitely duality every day of every second, from the day, from the time I wake up till I go to sleep. There's no, I can't pause it and say, okay, today I'm gonna be like this. Today I'm going to chant this. No. So, how I maintain duality with divination tools and Christianity is no matter what I'm doing, I'm always first seeking God, waiting on God, and when I get what was meant to come to me in that moment, I give thanks. Everything is around God. I'm just a vessel and I'm learning about God. I'm not here for some sort of a quick fix because I think that's like no matter the walk, whether you're a dualist or spiritualist or whatever religion, some people turn to these things for quick fixes, and it doesn't work like that. And you need to know inside, like, what am I doing this for? And the main thing for me is to know God. I just want to have that relationship with God. So I'll be reading my Bible, I'll read Psalms, I'll read Proverbs, I'll burn incense to clear the space, to clear the mind, hoping that I can translate it properly. And now recently going back to theology studies so that I learn how to interpret the Bible properly, so that I don't potentially use it for selfish reasons. Because I think sometimes we get caught up with all these new tools that when we feel it aligns with us, we might abuse it a little bit. And that was not what that tool was meant for. So, yeah. Some nights I'll burn a candle, I'll give thanks. I'm giving thanks to God because even though I will see some of my ancestors in the other realm, I take it as it's God also living through them. And because I can't comprehend God yet, the whole factor of God, the best way that they can speak to me is through my ancestors. So I think that's how I maintain the duality that, yes, there are these spiritual tools, but at the end of the day, it's for God and seeking the teachings of Jesus to always give love where it's necessary, to be not so judgmental, be kind, practice hospitality, be light, always forgive. Yeah.
What I appreciate most about your duality is the sense that you have recognized that it's not going to be a quick fix. Like, this is not something that we just do to manifest our dreams and reality. This is a way of life. And this way of life is going to require that we are responsible because I hear you say we must use this for good, which tells me that there is a potential for to use it for bad. So you have recognized that Yes, I want to use this for good. How do I maintain being a beacon of light, love, harmony, forgiveness, not being judgmental, and wanting to embody those qualities as your journey is just so inspirational. Like the clarity that you have in that is very inspirational.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope to inspire more people.
Yes.
But
I
you
think
don't
you
have
already
to.
are. No, no, no.
I
I'm going
hope
to
so.
take that back. I believe you already are. You know, inspiration, I think we work so hard trying to inspire, but when we're just ourselves, it's already happening. It's people may not say, "Hey girl, I'm watching you," like, "Hey, you're lighting a fire inside me," but it's already happening whether you get confirmation of that or not. Just you being you, and that's why it's so important for all of us to show up with who we really are. Life is you're destined to be here and be who you are. You can't play copy and paste to someone's life. You can't be
You
like a
can't.
Kim Kardashian or Beyonce, or you can't be copy and pasting people's life. The world needs you in
Yes.
all of your essence and all of your being. The world needs you to show up as you
Hmm.
because there's a place for that. There are people who are getting inspired by that. And if you copy and paste someone else, then why are you here? We're in school. Why are you here? That's me
ABC,
being judgmental.
right? I mean, sometimes we can't help the sin, the ego, the judgments that like we're
Hmm.
human, we're in human flesh, and I think a big
Hmm.
part of both maintaining Christianity and using spiritual tools is to acknowledge that what we call the shadow self, like things people expect us to keep away, because the spiritual journey is not always love and light.
Mm-mm.
Even in the Bible, it's not always love and light. You know, people um,
Mm.
will always say, yeah, the Bible contradicts itself. I find it very hard for the Bible to contradict itself now that I'm learning what I'm learning, because there's a time and a place for everything. And we need to go with that flow. And sometimes it's not nice. And it's okay to express it. And we express with the intention to show people that it's okay to feel that, go through that, and learn from it. People think when you're saved and all that, you're gonna be happy all the time. Wait, what?
I will cuss you out with the Bible.
Or they expect you to always be this calm, timid person. It's like, but if you're
Mm.
gonna try me enough, I'm gonna have to clap back. I'm gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
clap back, put you in your
Mm-hmm.
place. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where the clapping back, now that I'm speaking on it,
Mm.
people, myself actually, in the beginning, before all of this, I had a different meaning for the word, like being divinely protected, and the word witchcraft, and the word ritual.
Mm.
Like people, like we, I guess we were taught that when you hear these words, you think of like
Mm.
lots of blood and sacrificing and these wow, wild things, and people summoning forces to fight you. And it's like, no, all of these things that we're learning are
Mm.
to help heal ourselves and the
Mm.
bloodline before us and the
Mm.
bloodline after us.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah.
You've mentioned a couple of things that lead me to our next point of conversation. You've mentioned the shadow self, and then
Yeah.
you've also mentioned rituals. Earlier on, at the beginning of our conversation, you said everything we do is a ritual. So let's talk about rituals with a particular focus on moon cycles. Now, I didn't know. Normally, I look at my calendar when I schedule these kind of things. I didn't know that I'd be scheduling our conversation dead in the middle of a full moon in Scorpio for that matter. I'm like, you did
Hey.
what?
And the theme is letting go. ending a cycle. Like, talk about divine timing.
Yes. This is me trying to portray the love and light and happy, but like on the inside, I'm like, so much is coming up, so much is showing up and needing to be released and translated into other energy. And so, full moon in Scorpio, we have new moons as well. What kind of rituals do you want to talk about? Rituals for the full moon, or rituals for the new moon, or rituals for just the moon cycle in general?
I can do new moon and full moon, like touch on the light differences between the two and how I establish the different rituals. So, with full moon that is happening today, after good introspection, like the whole moon cycle, there's a time for everything, and the build up to the full moon, I feel, is where you dive into that shadow self, those ugly parts that people think are ugly. They just wounded, and work with them. Find ways to love them and connect to them and understand why this happened or why this is a personality trait. And when the full moon comes, you can write down the things you wish to let go of, whether it's from parts of your wounded self or parts of a personality trait that you feel are not aligned for this next journey, and you can write it down. And what I like doing is burning. I like burning my stuff. I love burning. Like, my parents will make jokes and say, "Hey, this is not Limpopo," or something, you know, like the ignorant thing.
So like the neighbors will think you are turning our house into
Yeah.
Limpopo. For those who are not South African, we can't tell you. It's an inside joke. We'll just pretend like, just laugh. This is the part where you
They'll
laugh.
learn in due time. And yeah, so I burn the things that are like on a piece of paper that I wish to let go of. And afterwards, I'll burn incense to clear the space, almost like a symbolism, like it is done, it is clear. This is all gone, it's going with the air. And I'll do a light sprinkling to like welcome new energy, new opportunities, and then I rest. I don't do too much. Full moon, you don't have to do too much. Just after that whole moment of introspection, whether it's over a course of a couple of days or maybe on the day, on the morning, a few minutes before, like, it's really okay. We don't need to be so focused on like each and every detail of certain rituals and crafts and all that. I feel as long as the intention is there, it's going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, with new moon, I feel new moon is like the symbolism of new opportunities. So after full moon and you've let go and you've rested, you can start thinking about the new things you want to align yourself with. What is it you would like to work on? Is there a certain project you would like to work through? And I also feel during this time you have to be very realistic. It goes back to the quick fix thing. Don't dive into these things if you want instant gratification. It doesn't work like that. I feel the moon phases guide us for alignment before we can get these things to maintain a certain character. So that's what I use moon for, mostly for what do I want to maintain within myself. And I journal that, and I sometimes sleep with the writings under my pillow to be like, I'm keeping this close to me to make sure that it's the energy is there close to me. And grounding practices. Grounding practices. As I said, I'm not like so knowledgeable in chakra work, but recently, shout out to We Move Yoga, first of all. They have taught me some things and energy points and the importance of yoga and breath work and moving your body and just explaining different energy points where sometimes when an energy point is overactive, then the things you're trying to achieve versus the reality is not meeting. And certain yoga practices help with that. So the build up to new moon and on new moon, I will be busy with that as well, just to keep my spirit and my emotions in my body and stay grounded so that I can execute instead of letting everything be airy fairy. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining the rituals you do for the new moon and the full moon. People may listen to this at a time where we are past a full moon or a new moon, but they always come back. Once a month, there's a new moon. Once a month, there's a full moon. If you don't know, you will feel it. You'll,
Yes.
have those emotions, and then you'll look at the calendar or someone's status on WhatsApp will say, tan ta da dang, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, this is what's going on with me. Which brings me to my question for you. This is just a follow up question. Do you, and maybe it's partially because of what happens with me, do you always have time to do a ritual for a full moon or a new moon? Or sometimes is it just like, whoa, it's on top of me. I forgot that it was coming up. Are you ever like me where you schedule a thing like this during a full moon?
Yes, there are months where that actually happens, and you feel like you're
Mm-hmm.
missing out, but you're really not.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, as long as the intention is there, God is always listening. So, as I said, you don't always have to do all these rituals and all. Yes, some of us practice it because it strengthens a certain gift and certain things we are aware of that we're called for this life. But when you're just new in it, don't stress yourself too much. Don't stress yourself too much. So I remind myself of that as well. Like when I do miss it, like it's okay. Like I know that I need to work on these things. I know that I need to release these things. I'll say a prayer, and a prayer in a sense of like where I'm talking to God. This thing of like having a set way to pray can, I think, scare people away. And I don't think coming to God should feel like that. So I'll actually have a conversation like I would a person, and I'll fall asleep peacefully and actually wake up lighter in the morning. So for me, that feels like, okay, the ritual has been fulfilled. Just as if I were to write and burn and do all the other stuff. Yeah.
I love that you are saying, or it sounds like you are saying, there's still beauty in simplifying. Like it doesn't have to be as hard work driven. A lot of the times we think there needs to be hard actions before there are results, but it can be as simple as have a conversation with God the same way you'd have a conversation with a friend. And that too is just as powerful and enough. It simplifies the process and takes away the expectation to have it be perfect. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be an intention that you have set.
Yes.
I'm pausing because we are at 48 minutes. And this other conversation about sexual interactions, ne? It it
Ooh.
feels like it's a conversation on its own that could not be potentially concluded in now 11 minutes.
I
I'm
definitely agree.
because we don't want to shortchange people. This is not a quick fix. We're not trying
Yeah,
to cook
it's
you
not.
up some herbs. Americans say herbs, we South Africans say herbs. We're not trying to cook you up some plants to take home with you and you drink and you're a millionaire tomorrow. No, guys. We need
Oh
to
no
give
no no
you
no no. Or like I want you to go harm this person. What? Do you know what that's gonna
We
do to me? Do you not understand what that's yo? Oh.
we are responsible medicine women, and we are intentional, and we align with divine timing and what needs to happen when it needs to happen. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to realign with Martina because we've loved having her here. I'm going to realign with her and see if we can get her again. But I also think this sexual interactions and spiritual hygiene conversation could be better housed with maybe one or other two women in the room with us as well. Maybe this might be like an episode where we talk about our, now some people may not want to share and other people may want to share, but our experiences when it comes to having felt an energy exchange during sexual interactions, and what it looks like to be a man or a woman who is maintaining spiritual hygiene in the realm of sex. So, with this 9 minutes that I have left, I'm going to give Martina an opportunity to talk about her business because I feel you need to know the wonderful work that she's doing for her clients and know how her business name came about and what it is that she does. Like, Gail, what do you do? You know, because everybody wants to know how you make the money.
Okay,
So,
okay, okay. Okay, by day, I am, and by profession, I am a homeschool teacher. And
mhm,
by night, I am a jewelry maker. So that's what you guys see on Instagram. And the name Nahum came from, as I was explaining earlier in the conversation before recording, it came from when I was reading Psalm 23 and just working through translating the Bible and not translating it through English, through different languages. I really liked the word comforter in the Psalm 23. And when I translated it to Hebrew, one of the names that came up was Nahum. And I really liked that because it's a type of comfort that is not a form of a hug the way we expect it. It's the type of comfort, you know, when the godly comfort, the things that you need in that moment. And when you receive it, it is just as comforting as a hug, or like a spiritual hug. So I felt that was very fitting for the business, especially with the jewelry, because yes, I'll create cool things here and there. But what I normally create for clients is like your anklets, your different necklaces, your bracelets. And sometimes when I'm creating for them, if I've had a conversation with them, a nice long conversation learning about them, sometimes I'll feel compelled that, you know, let me add this to the package. And people always love it. They're always like, wow, I didn't realize that this is what I actually needed. People will be like, oh, I don't feel like taking it off. So I'll be like, okay, you know what? Thank you, God. Thank you for blessing my hands. Let me continue to do this. So, yeah. Sometimes the things I'll add will be crystals. As I'm learning about crystals, that's a whole nother awakening that can happen. Maybe we can have a conversation about that in the future. I feel I'm still awakening to that. It's very interesting. Sometimes just extra pieces of jewelry with certain symbols that I feel you need a little bit more protection right now. You're a water lady. Wake up to it. I hope you wake up to it. Yeah, so that's Nahum. Nahum Untitled. Titled is the full name.
the Hadidas in the background are singing in praise and worship as you're
Hey, and it's
explaining. They're like,
Sunday.
yeah, we're not killing any animals, guys. Those are a type of bird in South Africa, okay? You must just Google like YouTube videos of Hadidas.
Yeah.
Not not having known your business name or perhaps the meaning of your business name, I remember just feeling drawn to have you create pieces for me, if you will. I remember waking up and
Mm-hmm.
going, it's time. We need
Mm-hmm.
A, B, C, and D. And now, knowing more about your business name and the way in which you work, I'm glad I responded to that call. I'm glad I was like, okay, I hear you. This is where I'm going. And absolutely love your work. I know I've said this like several times. I'm just like, I'm
Thank
fangirling right
you.
now. Fangirling.
Thank you. No, it's gonna be such a pleasure creating for you. I can't wait. And I'm glad that
Mhm.
like because before you asked me, every time I see you on Instagram, I would always see certain colors and when you came to me with what you requested, those were the colors and I was like, God did it again. Like I just love how God uses us to
Mm,
speak to each other and connect.
mm.
So that was, I really can't wait. I can't wait to gift you.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Um, I'll ask you two questions. The last one being, what words or message from your heart or your guides would you like to conclude this conversation with? But before that, I'm going to ask you, what do you believe to be or describe as your sole purpose within this realm? What do you think you're here to do? Or what do you believe you're here to do?
I believe for now, because things could change at any moment, for now,
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
protect, most
Mm-hmm.
importantly, the kids. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that whatever word you use for negative energy and those type of gods and beings, they come for the children. And I think if we put in the time to protect them before they experience certain types of trauma, we'll be doing the world a great justice instead of putting 100 times more work trying to heal an adult. Just protect the kids. So that's what I'm here to do. It's a very sacred thing. I talk to my mom daily about it. Sometimes we bump heads because, the way the older generation was brought up versus what we're trying to achieve. Sometimes there's that friction. But I'm glad that through it all, she still gives me that freedom to do what I feel is right and teach the kids in the right way. Put God back in school. I think that's also what I'm here to do with my mom. So put God back in school. The right way, the wholesome way, the one that is not more damaging than what most of us have experienced.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. I really like the idea of nurturing rather than restoring and repairing. If you find them young, you can nurture and potentially prevent trauma. I'm having a conversation with myself about whether trauma can truly be prevented. Different conversation, but I like the idea of nurturing versus repairing for sure. Okay, we're a minute down. Don't let this don't let this make you feel like you are being rushed. But what words or message from your heart or your guides would you like to conclude this conversation with?
Stay close to God no matter what, and As long as you stay close to God, all these other things that we fight to manifest and work towards will graciously come to you. You don't have to fight for it.
Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall follow.
Amen. I like that this interview happened on a Sunday as well. I feel like we just engaged in church.
Took you guys to church.
Yes.
Next time we take you to the clubs. Where you guys find those relationships of yours. We're taking you guys to the streets.
Yeah,
we're answering the call from the streets.
We're going to teach y'all how to protect yourselves from these streets.
Yes. Joel of the pandemic. I have so much so appreciated our time. It has recentered me in a way. It has been therapeutic to spend this time just reflecting, learning, and celebrating with you. I am so happy to finally be reconnected with you, and I'm looking forward to the wonderful, conscious work that we will continue to put out into the world, both individually and collectively. I will put Martinah's Instagram business stuff in the episode notes. I will also tag her on social media. Approach with love, please. Approach with kindness. She's gorgeous. Don't slide into the DM with nonsense.
I'll have to banish you.
Thank you so much, Martinah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out. I'm so glad that we are reconnecting because we've known each other for some time. And we're relearning and re-experiencing, and it's been so wholesome from the get-go, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your podcasts. You are doing the Lord's work, and I wish you nothing but more podcasts, more teaching, more connecting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mahulukwe, Keutaba, Rubuile. Aloha.
Well, before you go, I wanted to thank you for taking the first step in supporting my journey by listening to this episode. The second big step would be exploring the various ways you can become an official supporter of my journey by signing up for our Patreon offerings. We offer some great benefits such as one-to-one phone calls and distance Reiki sessions with me. For more information, visit patreon.com/journeywithmpho. The link is in the episode notes. If you loved what you heard, then subscribe to the show and continue to share episodes that resonate with friends and family. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please take a few minutes to rate and review us so we can continue to get our content to the people who need it the most. We are serious about getting your feedback, so if you'd like to take the rating and review a step further, check out our feedback survey link in the episode notes. Your feedback will help us to continue offering content that matters to you and is worth your time. Finally, in this day and age, it apparently matters how many followers you have on social media, so go ahead and find us on Instagram at journeywithmpho, and we promise to make it worth your while by sharing heart-centered, conscious content. Thank you for your continued support. I cannot wait to spend time with you again in the next episode.